What's up, 8th grade? Mr. Agnos here. This video is for homework 14-5, and what we're going to be doing in this for this assignment is we're going to be matching lines to our scatter plots, because you can use those lines to then, and the equations for those lines to then make predictions, right? For example, if I had a scatter plot of height and shoe size, I would get dots that are roughly in a line, going up from left to right. I could model that with a line, and then I could use that line to say, okay, if I have a person who's 6 feet tall, I could make a prediction, a very accurate mathematical prediction about what their shoe size would be. And this is important if you're, say, Nike, right, or Adidas. So the first problem I'm going to look at here is number 3, and you can see we have a scatter plot, and they have drawn a line that roughly sort of follows the path that these dots are headed in. And it says the scatter plot suggests a linear association among the data. 2 points that lie on the trend line for the data are 2,14 and 4,18. Find the equation for the trend line. All right. So again, here's our scatter plot. This time we actually have a line there, and this line is like the approximation. It says, hey, this is roughly what's happening here. This problem is purely mathematical. There's no height, there's no money, there's no story involved. It's just numbers. But we need to do some review because it's been a while since we touched this stuff. All right. If we are going to write the equation of a line, we do it in y is equal. That's too big. We write equations in y equals mx plus b form. And you will notice that all of my answers are in fact, or all my choices are in fact written in y equals mx plus b form. And if I'm going to write an equation in this form, I need to know 2 things. What is the slope? And then I'll plug it in here. And what is the y-intercept? And I will plug it in here. All right. So let's look at this blue line and see if we can figure these 2 things out. I'm going to zoom in. All right, the y-intercept is, I always start with the y-intercept because I just have to look. So I'm going to go to my graph here. Here's the y-axis. Let's go down. It appears the y-intercept is 10, right? It's hitting right there at 10. So my y-intercept is 10. Okay, why is that important? Pun intended. That is important because I can look at my choices here, and 2 of them have a y-intercept of 10. So right away, I can eliminate choice C and choice D, right? I know it has to be one of these 2 choices. So now I just need to identify the slope. Excuse me. Well, notice that they gave me 2 points, right? That is completely intentional. They gave me these 2 points right here, 2,14 and 4,18. And we can use the slope formula to find the slope of this line. So the slope formula, I'll write it over here. You should have this written down somewhere. If not, you can always Google it. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail because we've covered this extensively. X sub 2 minus x sub 1. All right, and this will tell me my slope. So when I'm using the slope formula, the first thing I do is I rewrite the coordinates, 2,14 and 4,18. Then I label them. This is the first x, first y, second x, second y. And then I plug them into the corresponding, the correct spots, right? So y sub 2 is 18. Y sub 1 is 14. So I have 18 minus 14 on top. That's my rise. On the bottom, x sub 2 is 4. X sub 1 is 2. And then we simplify. 18 minus 14 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. Right? These are both evenly divisible by 2. Another way to think about it is this just means 4 divided by 2, right? So my slope is 2. So the equation of that blue line is y is equal to, take the 2, plug it in right here, take the 10, plug it in right here, 2x plus 10. and I look at my choices, there it is right there, choice B. Got it. All right, so you can see now how everything we've learned in this unit, we're combining with everything we learned in the previous units, right? We have these scatter plots, but now we have to remember all that slope and y-intercept stuff. All right, this was an easy one. I'm now going to do one that's a little trickier. So I'm going to skip to number 7. Remember, you can always pause. You can always rewatch this problem, right? And then same thing for the next one. You can pause it. You can rewatch it. All right, let's do number 7. All right, so right away, just looking at the answers. Okay, I haven't even read the question yet. Well, I have read the question, but maybe you haven't read the question. Look at the answers here. You can see all these decimals. We got negatives. We got a lot more writing. Okay, so take a deep breath. We can do this. It says, the scatters plot shows Maria's distance from her house during the first hour of her drive home from the beach. So let's just stop there. Maria's at the beach and she's driving home. So notice on the y-axis over here, it shows the distance from her house. Well, as time goes by, as we move in this direction, she's getting closer and closer to home, right? She goes from 90 miles to 80 miles to 70 miles, right? This y value is going down, right? This y value is decreasing. That makes sense, right? As she's driving home, she's getting closer to home. So the distance from home is getting small. All right. They want us to find an approximate equation. That's important that it says the word approximate. Find an approximate equation for the trend line. All right. And does this suggest positive or negative association? How can you tell? All right. So we want to find an approximate equation for the line. All right. So just like before, we know that our equation is going to be in y equals mx plus b form. And we know that we need to find the slope and we need to find the y-intercept. So again, I like to start with the y-intercept. It is easy. I zoom in on my graph here. Here's my y-axis. I go down. Let's see, this is 90, this is 100, so this is 95. This is 95 right here. So I know that my y-intercept is 95. And just like before, that allows me to immediately eliminate some choices, right? We know it can't be this one, and we know it can't be this one. So really, we're trying to figure out, hey, is the slope of this blue line over here, is it negative 0.8 or negative 0.5? Well, the problem is this time they don't give us 2 points. Last time they just straight up said, here's 2 points, we could calculate the slope. This time, we have to estimate. So we actually have to look at the graph, and again, I went to the question help here, and this is the process that they walk you through in the question help. They say, okay, estimate 2 points that are on this line, okay? So I'm looking at this line here, and I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to kind of move down, and look at this. Do you see how the blue line, it crosses through right here? So I'm gonna pick that point. Let's see, that's the point 25, 75. And then I'm gonna keep moving down. Remember, I always need a starting point and an ending point when I'm finding slope. And there's another one, 50, 55. All right, so now I have a starting point and an ending point, and at this point, I could use the 2 coordinates and use the slope formula, just like I did on the previous problem, or I can make a slope triangle. So I'm going to make a slope triangle this time, and how much do I have to go down? Remember that I'm counting by 5s here. Each square is worth 5. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20. So I went down, let me just double check that. I went from 75 to 55. So I went down 20. It's negative because I went down. So my rise, I didn't give myself a lot of room here. My rise is negative 20. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. What is the run? Well, let's check. We're still going by 5s. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Now, I can simplify this. Negative 20 and 25 are both divisible by 5. So if I divide top and bottom by 5, we get negative 4/5. All right. So I'm just going to leave this up for 1 second here. We get negative 4/5. All right, if I look at my answer choices, I don't see negative 4/5. These are all in decimal form, right? So then the question becomes, well, what is negative 4/5 as a decimal? Well, remember, to convert a decimal to a fraction, the opposite of that. To convert a fraction to a decimal, we just do top divided by the bottom. I'm going to ignore the negative for right now, right? I'll put that back in at the end. But what is 4 divided by 5? And I have to put point and some zeros here. All right. 5 goes into 4 0 times. 0 times 5 is 0. 4 minus 0 is 4, right? Then I put a decimal here, and I bring down the next 0. 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. I subtract, and I'm done. Now remember, we were dividing negative 4 by 5. So this 0.8 is actually going to be a negative 0.8. So negative 4/5 as a decimal is equal to negative 0.8. So choice B is my winner chicken dinner. It has the y-intercept of 95 and the slope of negative 0.8. Check answer. Got it. Okay, so some of these can get pretty tough. As you can see, they were sort of an easier version. That one's a little harder. I think there might be even one or two that are a little messier than this one. So anyway, feel free to pause, rewind, watch again. And then once you get started with the assignment, make sure you're asking questions. All right? See you guys in class.